Today, we are going to learn a very practical skill: how to reverse calculate sales tax to find the original price of an item. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to determine exactly how much a product cost before tax was added, which is incredibly useful for budgeting and bookkeeping. We usually think of sales tax as something added at the end of a transaction. If you know the original price, you just add the tax. But if you only have the final receipt or a total amount, we have to work backward. The key is to realize that the total cost represents 100% of the original price plus the percentage of the tax. We express this mathematically as the original price times the quantity 1 plus the tax rate. To see how this works in practice, let's look at the core formula. To isolate the original price, we simply divide the total cost by 1 plus the tax rate. It is vital to remember that the tax rate must be written as a decimal for this to work. For instance, if your sales tax is 8%, you convert that to 0.08. Then adding 1 gives you 1.08. This number represents 108% of the original value. So to find the price before tax, you take your total and divide it by 1.08. This undoes the tax increase and brings you back to the starting value. Let's apply this to a real-world scenario. Imagine you just bought a new pair of headphones. The total amount charged to your card was $107, and you know the sales tax in your area is 7%. You want to find out the price of the headphones on the shelf. Our goal is to strip away that 7% tax to find the base price. First, we convert our 7% to the decimal 0.07. Next, we add 1 to that decimal. This 1.07 represents the total cost as a factor of the original price. Now we take our total, $107, and divide it by 1.07. The result is exactly $100. So the headphones originally cost $100, and the remaining $7 was the sales tax. Notice how much simpler this is than trying to subtract 7% of the total, which would actually give you the wrong answer because the tax was calculated on the original 100, not the final 107. Let's try one more example that is a bit more realistic with messy numbers. Suppose you went out to dinner and the final bill, including a 10% sales tax, came to $49.50. We want to find the price of the food before that tax was added. First, we turn 10% into the decimal 0.10. Then we add 1 to get our divisor, which is 1.10. Now let's do the division. $49.50 divided by 1.10. The result is $45 exactly. This means your meal cost $45 and the tax added was $4.50. A common mistake students make is calculating 10% of the final $49.50 and subtracting it. If you did that, you would get $44.55. But wait, 10% of $44.55 is not $4.95. This highlights why we must divide by 1 plus the rate rather than multiplying the total by the rate. To wrap things up, let's review what we have covered today. First, identify the total cost and tax rate. Next, convert that tax rate to a decimal and add 1 to it. Finally, divide the total cost by that number. Finding the original price is a simple process once you understand that the total cost is more than 100% of the base price. By using this formula, you can accurately reverse any sales tax or percentage increase. Whether you're doing your taxes, managing a business budget, or just curious about how much you really paid for a service, this tool is indispensable. Take a moment to think about this final example. You would divide $21.20 by 1.06. If you got $20, you have mastered the concept. You are now ready to handle reverse tax calculations with confidence. Thank you for joining me today.